Alright, picture this. You're walking alone at night, maybe through an empty field or down a dark street. The wind howls, a shadow moves in the corner of your eye, and suddenly, BM, you come face to face with a creature straight out of biblical legend. But wait, these aren't just your typical ghosts or demons. No, the Bible has some of the weirdest, wildest, and most terrifying creatures you've probably never heard of. Today, we're diving deep into the strangest beings found in the pages of Scripture. And trust me, some of these are nightmare fuel. Let's kick things off with one of the most famous creatures, the Behemoth. Now, if you've ever wondered what God's version of a kaiju might look like, this is it. The Behemoth is described in the book of Job as an enormous, grass-eating beast with bones like bronze and limbs like iron. Some people think this could be a poetic way of describing a hippo or an elephant, but let's be real. Hippos are scary, but they don't exactly scream mystical monster. Others argue that it could be a now extinct creature, maybe even a dinosaur. What do you think? Giant land beast lost to time, or divine metaphor for strength and power? And if Behemoth wasn't wild enough, let me introduce you to its aquatic counterpart, Leviathan. This isn't just any sea monster, it's the sea monster. Described as a massive, fire-breathing serpent that no human weapon can defeat, Leviathan is basically the original dragon. Some interpretations say it represents chaos or evil, while others take it more literally. Either way, I'd rather not meet this thing while taking a casual swim. But here's where things get even weirder. Have you ever heard of the cherubim? And no, I'm not talking about those cute little chubby baby angels you see in Renaissance paintings. The biblical cherubim are absolute eldritch nightmares. We're talking multiple faces, human, lion, eagle, and ox, all on the same being. They have wings covered in eyes, and they guard the presence of God. Imagine trying to sleep at night, knowing that these guys are watching over you. Comforting or terrifying? You decide. Now let's talk about one of my personal favorites, the Nephilim. These are the mysterious offspring of angels and human women, and they're described as giants, warriors, or even demigods. Some theories suggest that the Nephilim were wiped out in the flood, while others believe their bloodline might have continued in some way. Were they real? Were they symbolic? Either way, they add a whole new layer to biblical mythology that feels like something straight out of a fantasy novel. And speaking of angels, we have to talk about the seraphim. These are some of the highest-ranking angels in heaven. But if you're imagining a tall dude in a white robe with a halo, think again. The seraphim have 6 wings, 2 to cover their faces, 2 to cover their feet, and 2 to fly. They are literally so radiant and holy that even other angels seem to be in awe of them. If that's what the good guys look like, I don't even want to know what the bad guys look like. But speaking of bad guys, let's not forget about some of the darker creatures of the Bible. Demons, fallen angels, and mysterious hybrid beings pop up throughout Scripture, often as warnings or symbols of corruption and destruction. One of the creepiest? The beast from the book of Revelation. One has 7 heads and 10 horns. Another looks like a lion, bear, and leopard all mashed together. If you thought the Bible was just peaceful verses and wisdom, Revelation is here to remind you that things can get apocalyptic real fast. And let's not ignore the weird one-off creatures, like the satyr-like beings mentioned in Isaiah, or the mysterious cockatrice, a snake-like dragon that supposedly came from a rooster's egg. The Bible is full of strange little details like this that make you wonder what people back then were seeing or imagining. So, what do you think? Are these creatures just symbolism? Or did people actually encounter something beyond our understanding? If you could meet one of these beings in real life, hopefully in a way that doesn't involve getting smited, who would you choose? But hold on, there's still more to uncover. The Bible is filled with creatures so bizarre and mysterious that they blur the line between mythology and theology. So let's keep going down this rabbit hole and explore even more strange beings hidden in Scripture. One of the lesser-known but deeply eerie creatures is the Lilith. While not explicitly named in most translations of the Bible, Lilith is mentioned in some versions of Isaiah 34 verse 14, often translated as a night creature or a screech owl. However, in Jewish folklore, Lilith takes on a much more sinister role as a demoness or a spirit that preys on newborns. Some traditions even claim she was Adam's first wife before Eve, but she rebelled and became something much darker. Whether she's a literal monster or a symbol of ancient fears, Lilith has haunted mythology for centuries. And speaking of nightmarish figures, let's talk about Abaddon, also known as Apollyon in Greek. Mentioned in Revelation, Abaddon is described as both a place, the abyss or bottomless pit, and a being, often considered an angel of destruction. In some interpretations, he's a fallen angel or even a personification of divine judgment, leading a swarm of locusts with human faces, lion's teeth, and scorpion tails. Yeah, that's the stuff of horror movies right there. Now, let's revisit the book of Revelation because, honestly, it's packed with some of the most bizarre creatures in the Bible. Take, for example, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. While they may not be monstrous in appearance, their symbolic power is chilling. Each horseman, conquest, war, famine, and death, represents a force that brings destruction to the world. Imagining these spectral riders galloping across the earth is enough to give anyone goosebumps. Then there's the Great Red Dragon. This beast, described in Revelation 12 as 7 heads, 10 horns, and a tail that sweeps a third of the stars from the sky. It's often associated with Satan himself, a cosmic embodiment of chaos and rebellion against God, whether taken literally or symbolically. It's one of the most fearsome creatures in Scripture. And while we're talking about apocalyptic visions, let's not forget about the two beasts from Revelation 13. The first rises from the sea, with 10 horns and 7 heads, resembling a hybrid of a leopard, bear, and lion. The second beast comes from the earth and is often linked to the Antichrist. These creatures play a key role in end times prophecies, symbolizing the ultimate opposition to divine rule. But let's step away from Revelation for a moment and look at some other strange figures. The Azazel from Leviticus 16 is an interesting case. In the context of the ancient Hebrew ritual, a goat was sent into the wilderness bearing the sins of the people, hence the term scapegoat. However, in some interpretations, Azazel is not just a place or concept, but an actual fallen being associated with the wilderness and demonic forces. Could this be another case of an ancient creature lurking just beneath the text? And what about the mysterious creatures hinted at in Job 26 verses 5-6? The passage speaks of the shades or Rephaim trembling beneath the waters. The Rephaim are often linked to the Nephilim or ancient warrior spirits, suggesting that even in the depths of the earth, supernatural beings exist in some unknown realm. At this point, we've covered a lot of strange and terrifying creatures, but there are still so many unanswered questions. Are these beings purely symbolic, or do they hint at real encounters with the unknown? Could some of these creatures have inspired myths and legends that persist to this day? And yet, there are still more creatures lurking in the shadows of Scripture, waiting to be uncovered. The Bible holds even more strange and mysterious creatures that have fascinated scholars and believers for centuries. One of the most obscure but intriguing entities is the Beelzebub. While often associated with Satan, Beelzebub is mentioned separately in Scripture as the Lord of the Flies. Some interpretations suggest this being was a former deity of the Philistines, later demonized in Jewish and Christian traditions. Whether seen as a literal demon or a symbol of corruption, Beelzebub's presence in the Bible adds yet another unsettling layer to its supernatural landscape. And let's not forget the fiery serpents from the Book of Numbers. These creatures, sent as divine punishment against the Israelites, were said to have bitten and killed many people before Moses created the bronze serpent to heal those who looked upon it. Some believe these were literal venomous snakes, while others think they were supernatural beings with a divine purpose. Either way, they serve as another example of the Bible's eerie and enigmatic creatures. Now, for one of the most cryptic entities in Scripture, the shadowy figures of Zechariah's visions. The prophet describes horsemen patrolling the earth, angelic beings, and strange horned figures that represent nations and divine interventions. These visions are filled with mysterious imagery, often interpreted as symbols of God's judgment and power, but their surreal nature leaves plenty of room for speculation. And that brings us to the ultimate mystery, the creatures that may still remain hidden. Ancient texts often reference beings and forces beyond human understanding, leaving us with more questions than answers. Could some of these creatures be echoes of real encounters? Were they symbolic, or did they once roam the earth in ways we can no longer comprehend? Whether literal or metaphorical, one thing is clear. The Bible is filled with some of the most fascinating and spine-chilling creatures ever recorded. Their stories continue to inspire, terrify, and intrigue us, proving that ancient texts still hold secrets waiting to be uncovered. So, what do you think? Have we truly uncovered all the creatures of the Bible, or is there more lurking beneath the surface? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into biblical mythology, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fascinating explorations into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep searching for the mysteries that lie just beyond the page.